can you remind me if you'll be so kind? Staring out into space, asking God to hear my case, trying to think of all things past. How long will my memory last? The purple angel, purple angel, purple angel, you're next to me.
Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to Alzheimer's Speaks Radio. I'm Lori LeBay, and I'm the host and founder of Alzheimer's Speaks. Before we get to our show today, I always like to tell people a little bit about us because we are always getting new listeners, which I so appreciate. So for those of you that are new to us, Alzheimer's Speaks is an advocacy-based company providing multiple platforms to shift our dementia care culture from crisis to comfort around the world. And we believe that by joining forces and sharing knowledge and just having these everyday conversations about life with dementia, that we're going to be able to remove the stigmas and the isolation attached to memory loss and help those that are diagnosed and those caring for them to continue to live with purpose. We all deserve that. And so at our core, we believe that collaboratively is the only way we're going to win this battle against dementia. And I know it's working thanks to all of you. You see, your likes, your clicks, your shares with your Twitter tribes, your LinkedIn colleagues, your Facebook friends, your Pinterest people has all made a huge impact. It allowed us to be named the number one influencer online for Alzheimer's, according to ShareCare and Dr. Oz. And that would not have happened without you guys sharing our information. And the reason that I feel so strongly, and how important it is for you to share is because there are so many people within all of our circles that are dealing with this that don't talk about it. And the more information we can have available to them, the more they're going to see it's the norm, and they're going to feel more comfortable to reach out and grab that information when the time is right for them. So please continue to share. You're making a huge impact. And again, we so appreciate you being part of our community. If you haven't visited our website, alzheimersspeaks.com, there you can get lots of other resources as well. We have a blog, we have a resource directory. We are always pushing out new information. We've got a YouTube channel and some free resources and tools as well that you'll find there, in different initiatives that you can be part of, like the Purple Angel Project, which is a symbol that costs no money and takes very little time, that you can utilize as an individual or as a business. And the goal is very similar to that of the pink ribbon. Nobody knew what the heck the pink ribbon stood for when they started, but everybody knows what it stands for now. And that's what the Purple Angel is about, putting it out there and having people ask, what is that? So that you can open the door to have a comfortable conversation about dementia. Now, you also, as a listener, might be a potential guest for us. So please reach out to me if you think you have a story to tell. Here on Alzheimer's Speaks, we believe everyone's voice is valued. And so we interview people who are diagnosed and living with the disease, their family members, business professionals making a difference out in our dementia care culture, to musicians and authors, researchers, movie directors, advocates. Everything is game because, again, we believe as a team we can win this battle, and we believe collaboration is the only way that is going to happen. And so it's all about raising everyone's voice so that people can pick the tools and the products and the services they need when it's right for them and their family. And each of us is different. So that's just a little about us. I do want to give a shout out also to the Alzheimer's Research and Prevention Foundation. If you're looking kind of for a holistic mode, there you'll find out great information on diet and exercise, meditation. They're just doing some really cool things. So check out the Alzheimer's Research and Prevention Foundation. And don't forget about the Lewy Body Foundation and the Association for Frontotemporal Degeneration, or the National Aphasia Association. which is when people are having a problem speaking. All wonderful, wonderful resources for you. Before I introduce our guests, I am just going to give a shout out to Fresh Books, and I don't know if you've heard of them or not, but they're a great new company that can save us time. And for most entrepreneurs and small business owners, it's the very thing that we seem to be in short supply of. Always tons to do and not enough time to get it all done. And so the good news is that our friends over at Fresh Books feel our pain. And they've created something to help us reclaim some of that precious time. FreshBooks is a super simple invoicing solution that lets us create and send slick and professional-looking invoices in seconds. And oh, by the way, invoicing is only the beginning. FreshBooks also makes it easier to manage our expenses and stay on top of who owes you and you owe them. So it's a great tool. It also comes in a mobile app. And here at Alive and Social, you can go ahead and try FreshBooks free for 30 days. Just go to www.gofreshbooks.com/alive. That's www.gofreshbooks.com/alive and check that out. Well, let's get started with our program. I'm really excited to have this conversation. I was lucky enough to have Dave Wiederrich, who is the co-founder of KalendarKards, the memory support system for individuals with memory challenges, reach out to me. He's a retired executive with 34 years of corporate experience in corporate communication, marketing, sales, operations, and IT. He's a happily married guy to Margaret for 35 years, and he has 2 grown children, Jake and Colette. And when he reached out to me about KalendarKards, I was really intrigued. And so I was lucky enough, he sent me a sample of their system. And I think it's pretty spectacular and can be really helpful for people. So I'm looking forward to having this conversation. So welcome to the show today, Dave.
Thank you, Lori. It's a pleasure being with you today.
Wonderful. We also have a couple who is going to give us some valuable perspective in that they've used the system. And so we're lucky to have Bob and Tanya Bergeron with us today, and we'll be talking to them. Bob was just recently diagnosed, and so we're going to get insight from a family who's actually used this as well, which I think is so valuable. So welcome, Bob and Tanya.
Thank you very much, Lori.
Thank you, Lori.
Well, great. I'm going to start out with Dave. And if you can tell our listeners, what exactly is KalendarKards? And I should say it's spelt with a K. Calendars with a K and cards with a K and all one word. So if anybody's trying to Google that, you'll be able to see that on our homepage as well. But what exactly is KalendarKards?
Well, thank you, Lori. Yes, KalendarKards is a system, a memory support system that we developed specifically for my co-founder's mother-in-law. And she was having trouble remembering important tasks around the home. And the Post-it notes and the reminder lists and the medication journals and everything that you can imagine that they would use to try to help remind her of important things in her own home, staying in her own home. They just weren't doing the job. In fact, in some cases, she was starting to get a little overwhelmed with all of those reminders. So we worked together to develop KalendarKards, and what it is a system based on regulation playing cards, although quite specialized, that are geared to individuals trying to retain some independence, remember important tasks around the home, and they're broken down into very discrete tasks that they can just be reminded of those tasks one event at a time. And it's proving to be a very effective system for people that just need a little extra help remembering things around the home.
Wonderful. Now, what I found really interesting was just the way the whole system is organized. I thought it was just really fabulous. And why don't you describe to us, Dave, in a little detail of, kind of an average person, if you can kind of give us an example of how they would use the system as it was
Certainly.
set up?
Certainly. The system is designed around what we call a stadium, and this is a holder that is sloped up in the back. It kind of looks like stadium seating, if you will. And there are a number of slots built into this the stadium. And as a caregiver tool, and that's specifically what KalendarKards is, a caregiver will work with the individual to identify the kind of schedule that they have on a normal basis, when they have their meals, when they have medications, when they might have doctor's appointments, other chores, activities, and so forth. And they use the deck of almost 200 cards that we provide and build what we call daily decks. So there's 7 rows of slots in the stadium, one for each day of the week. And each day of the week starts with that day of the week, of course. And as the day progresses, the individual simply takes the card at the appropriate time, moves it to the right into the adjacent slot, and we call that playing their day. By doing so, they benefit in a number of ways. They can see at a glance the rest of the days of the week, but not all of the detail quite yet. The day that they're on, they see only the very next item that comes up in their day. So, for example, first thing on a Sunday morning, they might move the card over that says Sunday, and maybe it's 7 o'clock, they take their first medication. So they take the medication. When they're done with that, they just simply move the card over, and the next appointment maybe isn't till 9 o'clock. Well, at 9 o'clock, they move the card over, and it says it's time to get ready for church. So it breaks things down into single, very easy to manage, discrete tasks, rather than having an overwhelming number of Post-it notes and reminders and checklists and so forth. And it's proving to be a very simple way to provide comfort and some confidence to individuals who are using it. It's really very similar to your theme of turning crisis to comfort, and this is really what KalendarKards is all about.
Well, and it has so many choices, and then you've got some blank ones there too for people to be able to customize. So I'm just going to read off some of these types of reminders for people. So you've got under health, to take medication, eat a healthy breakfast or lunch or dinner. And you've got a couple of them for doctor's appointments, dentist appointments, or maybe other types of appointments. And then you have some for chores as well, like taking out the garbage and recycling days and yard debris and check for mail and laundry, maybe yard services coming or other chores. And then you've got ones for appointments, like meeting somebody for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or going to church, or maybe family is getting together for an outing, or you're going out with friends. And then you've got a couple for that you've marked important before bed and other important activities. So there's just a lot of variety there, and yet probably some other things that people want to add in, which is, I think, was just so important to have some of those blank ones in there for people as well. Can you tell us a little bit about when this was developed, for your co-founder's parent, how did they come up with this system as a whole?
It was a kind of an evolutionary process. They were somewhat at their wits' end with respect to the different ways in which they tried checklists, the different ways in which they tried strategic Post-it note placement, the different ways they tried medication journals, and it was a conversation that I had with my co-founder that had us get to the point. In fact, it was his idea to break them down into little cards. And so we actually started with, in one of the very early prototypes, printing the cards on paper stock from my printer and perforated cards that you zip apart, and started using those with his mother-in-law. Ladile is her name. Mm-hmm. And so Ladile would start to manipulate those cards. And several iterations later, we decided that we needed to use regulation playing cards. They, mm-hmm. you know, how they slide. Everybody's familiar with that tactile feel. And once we got to the point where we had a set of cards on regulation poker cards, we knew we were onto something, because she lit up, she enjoyed the tactile feedback. They were easy to manipulate. You know, we all are familiar with how cards work. And it became a much more easy process for managing the cards, because she didn't have to peel them apart. And then there were several versions after that as far as the content on the cards. And, you know, since she was the victim of our early prototypes, when she got to the point where she really liked the system, then that's when we launched it. We knew that we had developed something that was providing value and comfort to someone, and we didn't launch that until we reached that point.
Okay. Now, one of the things that, you know, anybody who develops a product, it's like, okay, we got this figured out. Now what do we do? How did you reach out to people to let them know that you even exist? How did you find find your following?
This has been probably one of the best parts of the, I'll call it a project, but it's a full-time project. It's wonderful to work with people and provide this kind of value to individuals and help them in areas that they need support. But part of it is enjoying developing these relationships. It started with somewhat of an innocent Twitter exchange with our local Portland, Oregon representative for the Alzheimer's Association Oregon chapter. And that led to an invitation to participate in the annual Walk to End Alzheimer's event here in Portland. And as a team member, as a team captain, so I attended the meeting. That evolved into being an exhibitor at the event, as well as having a large team participate in the walk as a fundraiser activity. That led to other Alzheimer's Association chapters up in Washington, further outreach on social media. Really, it's just reaching out to folks like yourself, anyone who would agree to hear about calendar cards and the value that it brings. I've been trying to reach out to those folks, and very gratified to see how well it's been received, and certainly the comfort that we're bringing to a lot of people.
Well, wonderful. Now, can you tell us a little bit about your connection with Bob and Tanya, and how they got involved with calendar cards?
Yes. As it turns out, Bob and Tanya are mutual friends. We have a mutual friend in common. And early on, when we first met, that's when they began using the calendar card system. And ironically, they live just not far from where we live. So it's a very convenient relationship, and certainly is growing into a very good one. What I really appreciate about how they are using the system, and I'll let Bob and Tanya describe this in more detail, but it's really interesting to me that while Bob is very early stage, early diagnosis, and he and Tanya are quite active together, he probably doesn't use it as fully as a lot of our customers, but it's still bringing value and benefits to him in the area of, as we know, it's the short-term memory that can be the most challenged. long-term usually hangs in there much longer. And our thinking is that the sooner someone can start using the calendar card system, the longer they may be able to benefit from it.
Mm-hmm.
And so through that relationship and using the system and certainly getting the feedback from them, that's kind of how they became my victims today and on this call with you.
Well, wonderful. Well, I would love to address Bob first and just ask, what did you think about when you heard about this system? Was it something that was exciting to you, or was it a little scary to think about trying to learn a new system, Bob?
Well, probably the only thing that was scary is that I was going through something I'd never gone through before.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I saw the system, it kind of all of a sudden said, well, this is a neat way to get organized and not be stumbling around all the time and trying to figure out what I'm going to do about what day it is. And all of a sudden it became kind of a little game, and it's made it much, much better because I feel more organized. I don't feel so out of it. And I think by continuing to use it and somehow customizing it to our activities, add a few more cards that say a few different things, and we can even make it kind of amusing sometimes by some of the things we decide we need to do. But then we have our family, and so it's been very nice, and it's very easy to get going. And I would tell people thinking about trying it, don't be afraid of it because it's really a lot of fun.
Oh, that's good to hear. Bob, where do you have your set up? Do you have your stadium set up in a certain spot to look at every day, or is it something that you move around?
Well, we usually, when you get up, we kind of walk by the computer and see what's going on or what's said or check news, and it's usually in that area.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes we can move it to our dining room table, which we're going to be hitting 3 times that day. And so we kind of move it from the office down to the dining room table and take the whole thing, and it's very easy to move, kind of like a big book.
Mm-hmm.
And, it saves a lot of where's this, where's that kind of conflict sometimes. It just makes it so nice because both of us know where we're both looking and where if one of us is out doing something, we can drop a note in there on the day it is, and you don't miss it.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful.
And, yes.
Tanya, what have you thought about the system?
I like it a lot, and just like Dave said, it's something about the card that's so simple, and it feels so good in your hand. And you can just write on them and just put them in the little slot there on the stadium, and it's just very, very good.
That's good. When you first started using this, did you find it simple to implement, or was it something that, you had to kind of think about? I mean, anything, that's new, we always have to think about it a little bit. But how was it for integrating it into your everyday life?
It was very easy. It really was. We put it on the dining room table right away, sorted out all the cards, and some cards don't quite fit us right now because I'm around to make sure Bob eats very healthy, and but they're good if I step out a while to pop it in the stadium, and he can look at that particular day. So.
Wonderful. Is there any recommendations in terms of additional cards? I know that there's the blank ones there that you can utilize. Have you utilized any of those and created your own cards? Or?
Yes, we sure have. And in fact, I'll need some more very soon.
Okay. Can you give us some examples of different ways that you've utilized it? And because I think it would probably be helpful for Dave, but it's also nice for, I think, our audience to know that you can customize.
You bet. For instance, we'll walk up to the library, and I can put that on a card, or we're going to go to the grocery store, and just different things that are not already printed on the card. and like today, the radio interview.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I slipped that on a card. And so, it's great.
Wonderful.
Lori?
Yep.
Lori, that's a perfect topic for the personalization of the system. We of course went through quite a process to accommodate as many of the not only LaDeal specific activities, but we tried to anticipate many that others would need as well. But it's very true. We can't anticipate every single circumstance, and that's why we have the blank cards. One great example that you may or may not become a permanent card, but I had a lady suggest to me that she was going to use one of the blank cards to remind her husband to insert and remove his hearing aids every day.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that's brilliant. We of course did not have that experience, so we didn't think of that. But that's an absolute perfect use of a customization feature where you might have something unique to you that you can then personalize it even further. So it works out really well that way.
Yeah. Well, and I could see even adding in for some people, just some basic grooming things, brushing your teeth or taking a shower or combing your hair. Just very basics for some as the disease progresses. I can see that would be very helpful and allow them still independence
Exactly.
to be able to do things. So, I think it's kind of endless. And like Tanya said, and like today for the radio show, well, that's not on everybody's list, but you've got a card where you can customize those things that you need in your life. It might be somebody who just liked to wash the car, and that was a routine for them, or maybe walk a dog, or just those different routines that we all have. Maybe it's read a book or listen to music, or it's endless. It's totally endless. I have a question for you, though, Dave. Can people at this point buy more blank cards if they would need them? Or
We are actually working on that right now, and it should be available soon. When we first developed the library of cards that come in the set, the 200 cards, it was important to us to provide as many blanks as we possibly could, and of course keep it cost effective. And so we've kind of had that on the back burner for a while, but we're starting to get more and more requests to think about that. So we're actually working on that now to develop the appropriate collection of blanks. And I should clarify why I say it that way. One thing that I didn't mention earlier was that the cards are all color coordinated. So when they sit in the stadium, you can see at a glance the type of card that's coming next. The yellow cards are your day of the week. The green is your appointments. The blue is health, and so forth. So this is a border around each card, a big, thick border with that color. So what we want to do is make sure that we provide adequate number of blanks in each of those categories, and those will be available on our website very soon.
Okay, great. Now, you also have the KalendarKards Activity Journal. And can you tell people, in terms of that, how that is used? Is it reusable? Is there an electronic form to this as well? How exactly is the activity journal used?
Absolutely. This was a result of some of our, call it the iterative process. Each time we'd come up with a new set of cards for LaDeal to use, my co-founder would work with her and transition her from an earlier set to the current set. Well, each time that occurred, there was a fair amount of confusion over getting those cards built the correct way. For example, if I'm sitting here with a table full of cards trying to sort them out, and I'm doing this for a loved one who is having some challenges remembering things, all of those cards can start to be a little overwhelming, especially when you start talking about which day of the week, what time of the day, No, I misremembered that. It's not Monday, it's Tuesday. And there's a lot of shuffling of cards going around. It becomes counterproductive because there's just too much overwhelming stimulus.
Mm-hmm.
So what we developed was the activity journal, and this is specifically for the caregiver to use to build the daily decks. And what we suggest is in the activity journal, this is a single, it's on a legal size piece of paper, somewhat of it's a trifold brochure kind of thing. And it's a week at a glance. The day starts at 4 a.m. and it ends at 11, so it's a big grid. And in each of the days of the week, we show our 4 categories of cards in a little color-coded column. So the red is important, the blue is health, the orange is chores, and of course we chose that word very carefully for our loved ones, and then the green is appointments. So without any cards visible, they can stay in the box temporarily. The caregiver simply has a conversation with the person to be using the system. And they talk about medications, which generally occur at the same time each day of the week. Maybe the garbage day is on Wednesday, or whatever the activities are. It's much easier to simply have a conversation, make a note or two in this grid, and when that conversation is complete, the caregiver can take the completed activity journal, build the daily decks, load them into the stadium, and simply introduce it to their loved one. And the activity journal is something that can be reused, that can be erased, and we'll have those on the site as well as far as extras. But it's really only intended to help in that initial setup when you're in a position where you're not working from something from before. The beauty of this as a caregiver tool is once the activity journal is complete, the daily decks are complete, the stadium is loaded, and as the cards work their way into the discard slot every day, and then eventually at the end of the week, the caregiver simply moves the decks, the daily decks, back to the starting column and maybe makes an adjustment on 1 or 2 days, and then it starts over. So it's not a complete rebuild every time. It's only that very first time, and that's the purpose for the activity journal, is simply help the caregiver get things organized right from the beginning.
Okay, because I could see this for some people, liking to have kind of a master schedule for every week and wanting this maybe in an electronic form that they could download and utilize, or even be able to share with family.
Absolutely.
So that others know.
Sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
What's nice about this is that it does, as you say, it does provide a simple week at a glance for all the categories, time of day, and so forth. So that's a great suggestion.
Yeah, it's, everybody's doing so many different things, and even a mobile app would be nice to go with that if family are trying to share schedules, or cards even for shift changes. If family is going to kind of rotate in terms of care and coming over as the disease would progress, or home health aide coming in would be kind of interesting too, so that people can kind of just see what the routines are. And routines are so critical when it comes to this disease in terms of providing comfort for people and and things. So that's wonderful. Dave, do you have any additional stories or testimonies from other families who have used the calendar cards?
There's several that have come in somewhat bittersweet. A lot of folks kind of shake their head and say, "Where were you 2 years ago?"
Mm-hmm.
And that's a kind of an important distinction, in that we recognize that we can't help everyone. Once someone progresses to a certain point, they need specialized care beyond what calendar cards can do. And, that makes us sad, but we recognize that that's the nature of the disease and the nature of the product that we developed. And so earlier is certainly better. And those are the bittersweet ones. But, similar to what Bob and Tanya have indicated, the feedback has been just wonderful. Much of the the frustration that a caregiver might have with respect to always being asked the same question every 20 minutes, every 5 minutes, whatever it is. And they, of course, lovingly want to answer the question and continue to provide support. It can get a little frustrating, and that's understandable. What we've found is that many people have told us now they don't answer the question if it has to do with schedule. They just kind of smile and say, go check your calendar cards.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes a very calming way to centralize all the information. One of the things that we recognized early on was somewhat of an ironic twist. How do you remind someone to check a system that's designed to help remind them about activities? And that irony was not lost on us. What we had did then at that point is, you're probably familiar with the silicone wristbands that many groups have made famous to promote their cause.
Yep.
And we've done the same thing. We include our signature gray and black, which is a very calming color, wristband in each system. And the idea is, it says check your calendar cards, and it's designed for the person using the system to wear around their wrist and act as a somewhat of a subtle but persistent reminder that they need to check their calendar cards. Just don't forget to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And we have some other products we're planning, like coffee mugs and those kinds of things that might come out in the future. But that is really the key, is that instead of all of the Post-it notes, all of the checklists, you can still have reminders anywhere you like, but instead of all that detail, all the reminders simply say, check your calendar cards.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything becomes centralized. And it's that impact on the families that we're getting feedback. Family members have more of an opportunity to be involved in the day-to-day activities. Like now, Ladil has a caregiver check in on her every day, more for physical support. But my co-founder and his wife can continue to be as involved as they have been through the calendar card setup and adjustment, and actually have the caregiver make sure that the calendar cards format is followed. So it allows the caregiver family, the user's family, to actually be more involved as well. And that was something we didn't anticipate early on, but very pleased to get that kind of feedback.
Yeah, I would think, and I'm going to pose this actually to Tanya. I would think in a lot of ways the calendar cards would kind of be a relief for you as a care partner in terms of trying to help your loved one stay as independent as possible. And has that been helpful for you, Carol?
It sure has, Lori.
Or Tanya, I'm sorry, not Carol.
No problem.
We have a card for that.
Yeah.
I bet you do.
But yes, Dave was right. The questions are asked quite frequently, and it is so nice to say, go check the calendar cards.
Mm-hmm.
But Bob is at an early stage so far, so it doesn't happen that often. But it's good to have for the future.
Yeah.
As well.
And Bob, for you, in terms of being able to independently go check the calendar cards, how does that make you feel?
Well, that part of it's really fun, but sometimes if Tanya's shopping or I'm here alone or something and I hear something or remember something that I want to do, I could take a piece of paper or a blank calendar card and write down on it, put it into the column to the right. And so Tanya comes back, I can remember to tell her that, or instead of just leaving a note on the kitchen table, but putting it into this thing which we check, regularly. It just organizes things, and you don't miss. It's easier to make sure you don't miss something that you felt was very important that you wanted to have.
Yeah, I can see that. Dave, have you brought this up to like the Mayo Clinic at all, to their habit program? They have, a calendar base. They kind of do an intensive, almost week long, with families and stuff, and they're big into people using a calendar, but I think this would give people another option if they're not able to write specifically.
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, it's called the Habit Program at the Mayo Clinic. If you Google it, you'll find it. But they might be really interested in this just as another option. They may not
Sure.
either. Who knows? But I'm a big believer in options for people because I don't think one thing works for everybody. And one of the things I like with the calendar card is the colors you've used, the font you've used, the everything is really easy to read and clear. And not all products are like that. And that's a huge, huge plus. And the way you, like you said, you color coded the different areas on this, I think is really important. Another one that you might want to consider is just an exercise card too for people, because that's something that, more and more people are talking about, not only, keeping their mind active, but their body active as well.
Yes.
Though there's no guarantees with that. But, that might just be it would be good probably for feedback alone with that, but it might be something that they would be interested in learning more about.
Absolutely. I appreciate that recommendation, and certainly the comment about exercise cards. That some sort of exercise reminder, activity reminder, will be in the next version of the cards when we eventually print a new version. We've got a couple of extra cards we're planning to add, and that will be part of it.
Mm-hmm. Another, I could list a zillion cards for you to print up, but another thing that I think would be a powerful card, and I want to ask Bob and Tanya this, if you think it would be, but a relaxation card. I think sometimes, so often, people think that a person with dementia has to be busy all the time. And I know that these cards, can be used for people who don't necessarily have a full onset in a lot of different areas, just to be able to see their week in a much easier format than a small calendar can provide them. If their eyes are going or whatever, but. Even if it's meditation or listening to music or just taking that afternoon nap. And to me, that kind of card would also help families let go a little bit of trying to always control things, because I think there can be a discomfort with people just relaxing, because when we take on this role of caregiver, care partner, care companion, whatever you want to call it, we automatically attach this huge responsibility of doing everything right and being that perfect partner. And sometimes when we do that, we get overly aggressive in terms of schedule and structure. And I think it's important for people. I mean, we all like our time to relax. And I hear that from people with dementia all the time. It's okay if I'm sitting quiet. It really is. I'm content. Bob, what's your feeling on that?
While you were talking, it was giving me more ideas and more things to do myself. Like I do a lot of painting with the Alzheimer's Association, and I think some of my paintings don't always work, and I have extra cardboard, or the paper you do the painting on is like a cardboard.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and slice those up into card sizes and turn them over, and have extra blank white cards that I can shift in there and put even more information as it comes about, and not throw away my not so perfect paintings.
Well, that's good. And Tanya, what do you think about a relaxation card?
That is a great one, because I am one of those caregiving people where I think we've got to do all these things during the day, and exercise being one of the most important things.
Mm-hmm.
Alzheimer's or dementia. Bob sometimes said, I just need to sit for a while. I'm tired.
Yep.
So it's good for people to be reminded when they are caregivers that it's good for you both to sit down and relax a little while and take a breath.
Take a breath, exactly. One of my good friends, Harry Urban, who has dementia, and he's one of our experts on dementia chats, said one time, I like to relax before I got dementia. I still do. And that has just stuck with me as such a powerful, powerful statement of what we can learn from those diagnosed if we just listen and apply their great knowledge, and how do they want to live life. And then, I kind of sat back after Harry said that and just kind of giggled, going, well, of course you do. How'd I miss that when I was working with my mom and dad? How'd I miss that?
Exactly. Just need to slow down a little bit. I just try to do too much.
Yeah.
I think we just get a little worn out. And then as far as exercising, there's where we go, they have Tai Chi. So we're going to be starting basics on that. And then I do yoga, too, and that's so helpful for relaxing.
Oh, wonderful. Well, that's great to hear. I want to throw this one to Dave and just say any comments that you have in terms of the relaxation and the exercise card and just kind of the comments in general that Bob and Tanya and I have just talked about.
No, I love both of those. I mentioned the exercise cards being in a future version. It never occurred to me. I have to admit, it never occurred to me to insert a stop and relax kind of card. And so there's a bit of irony there in that the exercise, go faster, relaxation, go slower.
Yep.
And so both of those really need to be in a future deck. And fortunately, in the short term, folks that already have the system and may get it soon, they can add those. And I think those are wonderful additions. And they will become part of the base deck in the future.
Yep. And that could be something, even in the interim, to just do a small insert piece of different ways people could use the blank ones on a regular basis. And those, if I'm not mistaken, can you use like an erasable marker on those and then reuse those cards so they don't have to be permanent or not? I honestly can't remember, and I don't have it right in front of me.
Yeah, we struggled with that early on in our development. We actually tested with both wet erase and dry erase markers and several different card surfaces, and found that the friction of the cards when they move against each other started to wear those off of the cards. And we thought, well, if the cards are intended to be used every day, every week, we don't want something to fade away and not be able to use. So we made the tough decision to make it a permanent marker that we include. There's a little receptacle in the stadium, but we made the decision to go with a permanent marker. And then what we did at that point was we dramatically increased the number of blank cards that we offer, and that took us up to almost 200 cards.
Oh wow. Yeah, because there is a lot of cards, which is wonderful, for people to be able to utilize. Well, this has just been such an interesting conversation. Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you feel we should touch on? I know that you've got a special offer for our audience as well, but I want to make sure that we cover everything and that I haven't missed anything.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and really, I might just leave everyone with a philosophy that I've had for a long time, and that is, if you think there should be an easier way to do something, there probably is. You just need to ask, and certainly KalendarKards is one resource that could potentially help make things easier. But my gosh, I learn of people practically every day that are not even aware of their local Alzheimer's Association chapter. Please think about reaching out to people, whether it's family or friends, whether it's a community resource or a large formal organization like the Alzheimer's Association. If you think there should be an easier way, those folks can certainly help. So don't forget to do that for yourself.
Good advice. And be creative. Look what you guys have done. and how many people you're helping. So I think it's great to look for others for answers, but look within too. We all have a capability to give, and we all have a capability of greatness. But we can't get there if we don't tap into it. And so
Absolutely.
part of it is not being afraid of trying, and we live in a society that has a lot of fear of failure, and we just kind of got to blow that aside and say, you know what, we should be scared of not trying. That's what we should really be scared of with that. Do you want to give people information on how they can get a discount on calendar cards?
Absolutely. Thank you. What we'd like to do is by way of thanking you, Lori, for the work that you do and the people that you touch and provide a lot of value, a lot of information, a lot of good, valuable resources. We'd like to add to that, and any of your followers that makes a purchase, if they use a discount code that we've created, we'd like to offer a 20% discount to all of your listeners. And then at the checkout, they just simply use the discount code ALZ Speaks 2016.
Wonderful.
So it's ALZSPEAKS 2016. And we will honor a 20% discount for all purchases for the rest of the year. And we set that up specifically for the rest of 2016 because we know that with the recorded podcast world that we live in, some people may not even be listening to this until sometime in the future, and we wanted to make sure that we could provide some value for everyone that would like to take advantage of it.
Well, we so appreciate that. Can you tell our listeners what the typical price is for the calendar card system?
The system is $79.95, and we pay shipping just to make it simple for everybody. So the 20% discount would take just almost $16 off of that. And you can order through our website at www.KalendarKards.com. And as you said at the top of the show, it's with K's, not C's. So KalendarKards.com.
Wonderful. And if they have any questions, they can just go to info@KalendarKards.com. And you're on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram as well. So if you are a social media person, go ahead and find them that way and like them and help spread the word of calendar cards. Well, I so appreciate your time today, Dave, and same with you, Bob and Tanya. Bob and Tanya, is there any last comments that you would like to make?
I would just like to thank you for this program. I'm excited to learn how to get it.
Oh.
I am not familiar with podcasting, and so I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, well, wonderful. Well, we'll send you the link to your show, and all of our shows are archived. We've been doing this for 4 years, so
Wow.
you won't run out of listening. That's for sure.
Thank you, Lori, and thank you, Dave.
My pleasure. Thank you to you and Bob for being here. And Lori, thank you very much for this opportunity.
Well, great. You guys have a wonderful week, and I wish you all the success with calendar cards. I think it's a brilliant tool for people, and I encourage them to try this earlier on than later so that they don't miss out on developing habits and routines that can help them with dementia or other issues that maybe they're having as well. In terms of just being able to know what's going on in my day today. It's just a nice reassurance. So thank you all so much. If you are new to Alive and Social, you might want to check out Apples to Apples on Monday at 2:30 with Scott and Drew Applebaum. They're a father and son team who discuss sports, and you'll be able to find out if fathers knows best. They do a lot of fun bantering. You'll also can listen to Joan of Art. And she does a weekly podcast that investigates and celebrates people who make art. And it's both of them are wonderful shows, and I would highly recommend them. Our next show, we're going to have Jo Huey on, and she's going to talk about her 10 absolutes when dealing with dementia. And we're also going to have Pamela Van on the show, and she's going to be talking about her company, Caring Together in Hope, and their brand new opening of Amy's Place. Our last shows were on technology with ChartaCares. We talked with some companies around the world doing some really cool things. And we also talked with Joni Eldridge, who talked about a topic which was kind of interesting. Caregivers say the darndest things. Our last Dementia Chats, which is where our experts actually have the diagnosis of dementia, was on February 23rd, and that is recorded, and you can get that on our website if you go to either the homepage towards the bottom, or you can go to Initiatives and Projects and go to Dementia Chats. Our last segment, we talked about the feelings and the fear people have who are diagnosed with the lack of funding for dementia. And our next Dementia Chats, which is open and free to anybody, will be March 8th at 11 a.m. Eastern. That's 10 Central, 9 Mountain, 8 Pacific, and 4 o'clock London time. If you are going to be in Texas, when I am, I would love to meet you. I will be in the Houston area April 4th through the 8th, and then I'm going to be in the Dallas-Fort Worth area the 27th through the 29th. Reach out to me, and maybe we can set up a time for a cup of coffee, or maybe you'll come to one of my presentations that I'll be doing. I'm going to be doing some screenings of His Neighbor Phil, and if you go to our website, www.alzheimersspeaks.com, you'll see also a caregiver boot camp that I'll be doing. On the blog, I'm just going to highlight one article that I just wrote on the 28th, and it was The Pain of Loss Still Hurts 2 years Later. And it was just a brief article that I wrote about the loss of my mom, who lived with dementia for 30 years. Let's see. In wrapping up, I am just going to give a shout out to Audible. And Audible is a great way to be able to listen to books. And this can be extremely incredible for those with dementia who can no longer read. And so you can go to audible.com/social and have access to 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone or your Android or your Kindle or your MP3 player. And, there's just so much to pick from. One of my favorites is a book called Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg. So again, you can test out your free trial there by just going to, again, audibletrial.com/social. And I will talk to you next week. Have a brilliant day. Bye now.
Hi, this is Suzanne Newman, host of the Answers for Elders podcast and radio show. We are the North Star that guides you through the complicated journey of senior care with trusted experts in money, law, living solutions, and more. So join us on this station, your favorite podcast channel, or just go to AnswersForElders.com. Meet the Wayshowers who will help your journey go a lot easier.